Good day, good people, and welcome to Revolutionary Belovedness. If you will, let me know in the chat section that you can hear me okay, whether you are here for the live session or watching the recording. Thank you so much for being part of this community. Tonight, we are going to spend some time reflecting on prophetic love and courageous truth-telling, speaking truth with clarity and compassion even when it disrupts comfort or consensus. So take a minute, friends, to settle fully into your seat, feeling the floor beneath your feet and the weight of your body fully held. Allow the breath to come slowly, filling the chest and then releasing. Something in you already knows what it means to sense a truth waiting to be spoken. A moment when the cost of waiting and remaining silent becomes greater than the cost of courage. Let that awareness rest quietly in you as we begin. This session holds space for the prophets and the fighters, for everyone who has ever discovered that love, taken seriously, demands a voice. So come to this time together with open hands and an open heart. Friends, the chat section remains open during the whole time this evening. So if something comes to your heart or mind you'd like to share, whether it's a reflection, a story, or maybe you just want to echo something that you hear tonight, feel free to use the chat section, even if it's a question, and we will do our best to integrate each of those into our evening together. Friends, there is something that stirs at the center of genuine love that eventually pushes it towards speech. Love, as it matures, discovers that silence in the face of harm is itself a form of participation, a quiet consent to what is damaging the beloved. This is the ancient insight of the prophets, the wisdom carried by everyone who has ever stood at the edge of a community that they cherished and spoken a word that disrupted its comfort. Prophetic love, my friends, is love that has grown old enough, deep enough, and honest enough to say what is true, even when the truth is unwelcome. It is love with a spine, and that spine has been tested and verified across every age of human history. That spine appears across every great spiritual lineage, sharing a recognizable shape even as it takes countless different forms. The prophet is rarely a stranger arriving from outside, pointing accusatory fingers at people entirely unknown to them. Far more often, the prophet is an intimate, someone formed within the very community they now address, someone who loves it enough to refuse to flatter it. To speak from the edge of the inside means holding membership and critique in creative tension, remaining in relationship with a people or institution while refusing to shield it from the truth it most needs to hear. The edge of the inside is a liminal sacred place, a threshold position that demands both loyalty and freedom, both the warmth of belonging and the undomesticated clarity of vision. Richard Rohr describes this prophetic stance as one of the most demanding positions a spiritual person can occupy. To live on the edge of the inside requires something like the balance of a carpenter's level, holding that small bubble steady between insider and outsider, between loyalty and honest critique. between belonging and the clear-eyed love that something asks us to disturb a comfort that is calcified into complicity. Prophets like Martin Luther King Jr., Dorothy Day, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, and Oscar Romero each occupied this position in their own time and context. They were, each of them, formed by and faithful to their traditions, deeply rooted in the very values their communities professed. And it was precisely that deep formation, that authentic belonging, that gave them both the authority and the courage to say, "You are capable of so much more than this." Their prophetic critiques were love letters written in difficult ink. And what grounded their courage was this: they had found their treasure in a place larger than any human institution could contain. When the ultimate ground of a life is the divine reality, what Walter Brueggemann calls the passion and pathos of a transcendent God, then the approval of systems and structures loses its power to coerce silence. A person rooted that deeply becomes, in Richard Rohr's striking phrase, both indestructible and uncontrollable. The prophetic voice rises from that depth. It speaks from a place that human belonging systems can pressure and condemn. It speaks on, rooted in something beyond their reach. The saints who carried this fire forward did so knowing that they would likely be misunderstood, marginalized, even condemned. They kept speaking anyway, because love, when it is deep enough, finds the cost of silence greater than the cost of truth. And love that deep moves when it must beyond speech into action. Valerie Kaur names that movement precisely. The practice she calls fight is one of the central practices of revolutionary love, and fighting, in her understanding, draws its energy entirely from love. To fight with revolutionary love is to choose to protect those who are in harm's way, to stand alongside those who's most impacted by injustice, and to do so in a way that preserves the humanity of everyone involved, including those who oppose. The warrior fights, the sage loves. And revolutionary love holds both together, refusing to let the urgency of the fight strip love of its depth, and refusing to let the comfort of love become an excuse for remaining passive in the face of what is breaking people. This is the spiritual architecture of prophetic truth-telling. It is a form of fighting animated entirely by love. Speaking truth to power, naming harm clearly, refusing to participate in comfortable silence. These are acts of love, particularly when they are costly. Kaur is clear on a point worth sitting with. Fighting is risky, and so is choosing to remain silent. To choose silence in the face of injustice is also a choice, and it carries its own cost. Peace builders call it moral injury, the harm that comes to the soul when it fails to act in alignment with what it knows to be true. Prophetic love, understood this way, is also a form of integrity, a refusal to participate in its own diminishment by staying quiet when something in the depths cries out to speak. Friends, the prophetic fight flows from wonder and grief before it arrives at action. You see, wonder opens us to the full humanity of those who suffer, and grief honors what we cherish enough to protect. A truth-telling that has passed through wonder and grief arrives carrying something more. It carries genuine care for the person it addresses, even as it holds that person to account. And this is the quality that distinguished King's prophetic speech. His words bore the full weight of love for the very people they challenged. He fought the system while honoring the humanity of those caught within it. And that double commitment to name what is true while holding the full dignity of all involved is what every tradition of mature spirituality has recognized as the mark of the fully formed prophetic person. Wayne Teasdale named that mark directly. He understood prophetic witness as the ninth and culminating element of a universal spirituality. The person of deep contemplative formation is responsive to the suffering of others, always ready to take risk for the sake of peace, justice, equality, and compassionate awareness. The enlightened being, Teasdale wrote, will stick their neck out for others. This sticking out of the neck is precisely what prophetic love requires. It is the point at which inner transformation becomes outward engagement, at which the fruits of silence and prayer take visible form in the world. Friends, the contemplative and the prophet are, at the deepest depth, the same person at different moments of the same vocation. The contemplative and the prophet are, at the deepest level, the same person at different moments of the same vocation. And there is a quality of voice that distinguishes prophetic truth-telling from mere criticism or self-righteous correction. You see, prophetic speech bears a certain unmistakable tenderness even in its clarity. It speaks because it loves, and the love is audible beneath the words. The tenderness is the source of the speech's greatest power. A word spoken in love opens something in the listener that hard rhetoric alone is powerless to reach. And the prophets understood this in their bones. They wept over the cities they confronted. They grieved the very failures they named. Jeremiah wept. Jesus wept. King wept. The tears and the truth belong together. Friends, the prophetic voice is shaped in silence before it speaks in public. The tears are themselves a form of that shaping. It grows in the soil of contemplative practice, of honest self-knowledge, of willingness to examine the shadows within as rigorously as the injustices beyond. Mature self-knowledge, Teasdale's sixth element of a universal spirituality is essential to prophetic integrity. For the person who has looked honestly at their own capacity for harm speaks truth with a humility that makes the truth more receivable. Arrogance forecloses the hearing. Humility opens it. You see, formation precedes proclamation. The one who speaks for justice has first spent long hours in the silence that reveals both the world's suffering and one's own participation in it. Friends, the invitation of tonight's session is to hold all of this together. The love that grounds the fight that expresses the love that requires courage, and the courage that proves trustworthy only when it is rooted in something deeper than personal conviction or righteous indignation. You see, prophetic love grows in contemplative depths. It is shaped by wondering grief. It is refined by honest self-examination and offered to the world as a gift, even knowing the world may receive it as a disruption. So the question each of us carries forward is simple and demanding in equal measure. Where in your life is love asking you to speak? And what has held the word waiting? Before we move into our guided inquiry, let's share a couple of minutes of silence together, letting those questions echo inside of us. Where in your life is love asking you to speak? And what has held the word waiting? Let us take about 12 minutes or so to drop into a guided meditation where we might give ourselves a moment to experience what we've reflected on. You're invited to feel the weight of your body settling into the chair beneath you. Feel the pressure of your feet on the floor. Feel the small movements of breath rising and falling. Let everything that brought you here, the noise of the day, the thoughts still circling, settle a little slower. Settle a little lower. Bring your attention to your throat. Just that. The muscles there. The warmth. The quiet passage of breath. The throat is a place of passage and of threshold. Something in it has a long memory. It knows about speaking. About the moment just before the words arrive. The held breath. The pause when you are deciding whether the truth is in you, whether the truth in you is worth the cost. And it knows too about staying quiet, about the particular weight of a truth carried long past the moment that called for it. Stay with the throat for a moment longer. Good. Now let your attention travel down to the center of your chest. The steady beat there, patient and true. This is where love gathers in the body before it moves anywhere. Love moves toward people. It moves toward beauty. And sometimes it moves toward a moment of truth that asks something costly, something that will change the room, perhaps the relationship, perhaps the way others see you. Now let a memory come to the surface. A time when you knew something was true and the knowing asked something of you. It may have been a small moment in an ordinary conversation, or it may have been something that shifted the ground. There was a truth you were carrying, and its weight was real. You felt it in the body. You may have spoken it and felt the room change. You may have held it a while longer, carried it home, wondered what it would cost to finally set it down in words. Bring that moment close, gently, letting it remain soft at the edges. Let it rest nearby, like a stone held in the palm of your hand. And notice, what did it feel like in your body to hold that truth? Notice, where does the memory live right now? In the chest? In the throat? In the stomach? Breathe into that place. Soften the muscles around it. Let the sensation simply be present, received as it is. Good. Now ask gently, what did love have to do with that moment? What did love have to do with that moment? Was there someone you were trying to protect? Something you cared for enough to risk the discomfort of speaking, or the lonely or discomfort of staying quiet? Just let the question rest in the body rather than the mind. Good. Prophetic courage has this quality. It speaks because it loves what is being broken. The warrior and the sage, Valerie tells us, are the same person. The one who fights because love has grown large enough to require a voice. Who speaks clearly because love, on its own, sometimes must find words. The prophets wept. The great truth tellers in every tradition carried both clarity and grief. And they spoke because the love was finally larger than the fear. Where in your life is love asking you to speak something true? And then let that question move down into the chest, the belly. Notice where it resonates. A tightening, a warmth, a slow opening, and trust whatever arises. And notice beneath the truth that waits in you, is there love? Is there someone or something you care for enough to let the words be costly? Let us Rest now in the breath, in the silence. Breathing in the courage to see clearly. Breathing out the love that makes truth gentle. Breathing in the courage to see clearly. Breathing out the love that makes truth gentle. Friends, slowly let your awareness widen. Feel the room around you, the sounds, the air, the pressure of others near. You are in the company of people who are also learning to hold truth and love in the same hand. You are in the company of people who are also learning to hold truth and love in the same hand. So whatever arose in the meditation, carry this quietly back into the world with you. Whatever truth waits in you, may it find the right moment, the right words, the right quality of love. And may you be given the courage of the prophets and the tenderness that makes that courage trustworthy. May you speak what is true, and may love be audible beneath every word. Friends, each week I offer 4 dialogue questions. Those questions can be answered briefly tonight as I share them. They will be posted on the recording page, and you can engage there and share your answers and communicate with each other if you like. Or they're there so that you can go back to them and spend some more time going a little deeper with them. Let me share those with you now, and feel free to enter into the chat anything that comes up for you. Reflect on a time when you were asked to speak a truth that carried a cost to a relationship, to a community, your own sense of belonging. What was the connection between love and the courage or the hesitation you felt in that moment? Next, Richard Rohr describes the prophetic person as one who lives on the edge of the inside, holding both loyal belonging and honest critique in creative tension. Valerie Kaur teaches that to fight with revolutionary love is to protect those in harm's way while preserving the humanity of all involved. How does that understanding shape what courageous truth-telling looks like in a community, a family, or a workplace? Next, Wayne Teasdale names prophetic witness as the culminating element of a mature spiritual life, one that grows from contemplative formation. So what practices, experiences, or relationships have formed your own capacity to speak truth with both clarity and compassion? Now, if you'd like to answer in brief one of those questions in the chat, you can do so. Or you can hold them for later exploration, maybe journaling, sharing with a friend, any way you like to engage those questions at all. I'll give you a minute to type or ponder those and just share with you the reminders that these sessions are recorded. They're available on the Mighty Network. They will be available on YouTube, so you can listen again. You can share with your friends. Next, I want to share with you that coming in August, we will be making a transition away from Mighty Network as our primary location. Live streams will be held back on Crowdcast. We'll be engaging more together as a group on Substack. And I believe we will still have some small presence in the Mighty Network, but that's yet to be seen. So really, you'll be seeing some small transitions between now and the end of August, but most of the transitions will be happening during August. Just wanted to let you know about that. Still invite your friends to join the Mighty Network. We're going to make that transition as seamless as possible. And then the other thing that I'd like to share with you, if you have not heard yet, is I recently released a book called The Sermons of a Showgirl. You can find that on Amazon and get that. It was a very unexpected book. I was doing a personal spiritual exploration, and by the time I was done, I had a book, and I thought it was worth sharing, and so now it's out there to the world. So hold that in prayer, and maybe even invite your friends to buy a copy. Oh, thank you, Mariana, very much. Thank you. All right, friends. Again, whether you are here for the live session or you're watching a recording, thank you so much for being part of Contemplative Inner Being's revolutionary belovedness. And I hope to see you again next week. Have a wonderful evening. Good night for now.